The cargo ship Starling Hope drifted through the cold darkness of space. It was a small vessel, built for carrying goods rather than fighting wars. The hull was scratched and worn from years of travel between distant stars. Inside, the lights flickered as another blast struck the shields. Captain Park Yuna gripped the arms of her chair. She was a woman of 40 years, with short black hair and tired eyes that had seen too much of space. Around her, the bridge crew worked with desperate speed. Alarms screamed from every console. "Shields at 12%, shouted Kang Do-yoon from his station. He was young, barely 25, with quick hands that danced across the communication panels. "Captain, they are hitting us again." Another blast shook the ship. Yuna watched through the main window as 3 Veth raider ships circled them like sharks around wounded prey. The Veth were known across the galaxy as slavers and thieves. Their ships were fast and cruel, painted black with red markings that looked like blood. "How did they find us?" Yuna asked, her voice steady despite the fear in her chest. "They must have tracked our supply route," Do-yoon answered. "Captain, we cannot outrun them. Our engines are too slow." Yuna knew this was true. The Starling Hope was never meant for combat or escape. It was a cargo ship carrying medical supplies to colony worlds. It was also carrying something far more precious. "What about our passengers?" she asked. Do-yoon's face went pale. "Beak Sora has moved them to the inner cargo bay. She says they are scared but safe for now." The passengers. 12 children, refugees from a border world destroyed by war. Their parents were dead. Their homes were gone. The Starling Hope was supposed to take them to safety. Now they were trapped. The communication screen crackled. A face appeared, gray and sharp with small black eyes. Veth Overseer Malachar smiled with rows of pointed teeth. "Human vessel," he said, his voice like grinding metal. "You will surrender now. Your cargo belongs to the Veth Dominion." "We are a civilian ship," Yuna replied. "We carry only medical supplies. Let us pass." Malachar laughed. It was an ugly sound. "We scanned your ship, Captain. We know you have living cargo. 12 small humans. They will bring excellent prices at the slave markets." Yuna felt ice spread through her body. They knew about the children. "You will not touch them," she said. "You have no choice," Malachar replied. "Your shields are failing. Your weapons are weak. Surrender now, and we might let your crew live as slaves rather than corpses." The screen went dark. Yuna turned to her crew. 5 people, all looking at her for answers. They were cargo haulers, not soldiers. They had no training for this. "Do-hyun," she said quietly. "Send an emergency signal. All frequencies. Use the coalition code." Do-hyun's eyes widened. "The coalition? But they are far from here. They might not receive it in time." "Send it anyway. Include our location and one phrase." Yuna paused. "Children aboard." Do-hyun nodded and began working. His fingers moved fast across the controls. The signal went out into the void. A tiny cry for help in the endless darkness dot far across the sector. The signal traveled. It passed through empty space and around dead moons. It bounced off relay stations and spread in all directions. Most ships ignored it. A human cargo vessel was not worth their time, but one fleet was different. The Deathworlders. Coalition fleet moved through space like a pack of predators. 30 ships of war, each one carrying warriors from the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. Their homeworlds were places of extreme gravity, toxic air, constant earthquakes, and endless storms. They evolved to survive where other species would die in minutes. On the flagship Wrath Eternal, Fleet Admiral Torvik stood on the command bridge. He was massive, over 3 meters tall, with dark green scales and 4 yellow eyes. His species came from a world where the gravity was 3 times Earth standard. His muscles were dense enough to crush metal. His teeth could bite through armor. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Brenna from her station. She was insectoid, with a hard shell and multiple limbs that clicked on her controls. "We are receiving a distress signal. Human vessel under attack by Veth raiders." Torvik turned slowly. Humans, the newest members of the coalition. Small, soft creatures from a world that most species considered merely dangerous. But Torvik had seen what humans could do. He had watched them fight in the border wars. They were weaker than any Deathworlder, yet they never surrendered. They never stopped. "Play the signal," he commanded. The bridge filled with a human voice, desperate and afraid. It gave coordinates and ship identification. Then came 2 words that made every warrior on the bridge go still. "Children aboard." Torvik felt his scales darken. This was the Deathworlder response to rage, an ancient sign that violence was coming. Around him, his crew showed similar reactions. Brenna's shell turned from brown to deep black. Other officers growled or clicked their teeth. The coalition had one sacred rule, one law that every member species agreed upon: protect the young. All young. It did not matter what species the children were. Any attack on children was an attack on everything the coalition stood for, and humans had earned their place in the coalition. During the border wars, human soldiers had died protecting Deathworlder eggs and infants. They had carried young warriors to safety while their own bodies burned. They had proven themselves worthy of brotherhood. "Navigation," Torvik said, his voice like thunder. "Calculate fastest route to those coordinates." "Admiral, we are currently patrolling the outer rim. The human ship is 6 hours away at maximum speed." "Then we go at maximum speed. Send word to all coalition vessels in range. Any ship that can reach that location will join us." Torvik moved to his command chair and sat down. The metal groaned under his weight. "Admiral," Brenna said carefully, "the Veth have likely already boarded by now. The humans may already be captured." Torvik looked at her with all 4 eyes. "Then the Veth will learn what happens when they touch our allies. They will learn what happens when they take children." He pressed a button on his chair. His voice echoed across every ship in the fleet. "All vessels, this is Admiral Torvik. We have received a distress call from a human ship. Children are aboard. Veth raiders are attacking. We move now. Full speed. Ready all weapons." Across the fleet, engines roared to life. Ships turned in perfect formation. Warriors checked their weapons and prepared for battle. On the Wrath Eternal, Torvik stared at the stars ahead. His claws dug into the arms of his chair. "Hold on, little humans," he whispered. "We are coming." Back on the Starling Hope, the shields finally fell. The ship shuddered as boarding clamps locked onto the hull. Yuna could hear the cutting torches burning through the outer doors. "They are coming inside," Dahyun said, fear thick in his voice. Yuna stood and drew her small pistol. It was not much of a weapon. It would not stop many enemies. But she would use every shot before she let them take those children. "Everyone arm yourselves," she ordered. "We fight until help arrives. We fight until our last breath." Her crew grabbed whatever weapons they could find. Tools, emergency axes, fire extinguishers. They were not soldiers, but they were human. And humans did not surrender. The doors burst open. Veth soldiers poured into the ship, weapons raised, teeth bared. They expected easy prey. They expected frightened cargo haulers who would fall to their knees and beg. They did not expect the humans to charge straight at them. Screaming with rage, the battle for the Starling Hope had begun. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the most dangerous fleet in the galaxy was racing to answer the call. The corridor of the Starling Hope filled with smoke and screams. Captain Yuna fired her pistol twice, hitting a Veth soldier in the shoulder. The creature stumbled, but did not fall. Its gray skin was tough, built for absorbing damage. "Fall back," Yuna shouted to her crew. "Block the path to the cargo bay." Around her, the humans fought with everything they had. Do-hyun swung a metal pipe at a raider's head. An engineer named Tae threw a fire extinguisher that exploded against a Veth face. They were losing, but they were not giving up. Deep inside the ship, Big Sora heard the sounds of battle. She was the ship's medic, a calm woman with gentle hands trained to heal rather than harm. But right now, her only job was to protect the children hiding behind her. The cargo bay was dark and cold. Medical supply crates were stacked along the walls. In the corner, 12 small figures huddled together. The oldest was Ha Ji-won, a brave girl of 10 years with short hair and serious eyes. She held the youngest child in her arms, a boy of only 4 who would not stop crying. "Dr. Beak," Ji-won whispered. "What is happening? Why are the bad people here?" Sora knelt beside her. "They want to take us. But Captain Yuna is fighting them. And help is coming." "How do you know help is coming?" Sora looked at the girl's frightened face and tried to smile. "Because we called our friends. Very strong friends. They will not let anyone hurt us." She hoped she was telling the truth. Far from the Starling Hope, ships across the sector received Admiral Torvik's message. Coalition vessels changed course. Captains abandoned patrols and cargo runs. Warriors prepared for battle. On the cruiser Stonehammer, Commander Grath read the emergency signal for the 3rd time. He was massive, even by Deathworlders standards. His species had evolved on a volcanic world where the ground itself could kill you. He had 4 arms, each one thick with muscle. His skin was dark red and rough like cooling lava. "Commander," his navigator said, "if we change course now, we will miss our patrol schedule. Command will be angry." Grath turned all 6 of his eyes toward the navigator. "Children are in danger. Human children. Do you remember what humans did at the Battle of Burning Rocks?" The navigator went quiet. Everyone remembered. A human squad had found a nest of Grath's species during a retreat. The eggs were abandoned, left to die. The humans could have ignored them. Instead, they carried 40 eggs through enemy fire for 6 hours. 3 humans died protecting young that were not even their own species. "Set new course," Grath ordered. "Maximum speed. And tell the crew to prepare boarding weapons. If any Veth still live when we arrive, they will wish they did not." Back on the Starling Hope, the battle was going badly. Yuna had been hit in the arm by a Veth blade. Blood dripped down her fingers, but she kept fighting. Half her crew was down, wounded or unconscious. Overseer Malachar pushed through his soldiers. He was taller than the others, wearing armor decorated with the bones of past victims. His smile never faded. "Impressive," he said to Yuna. "Your species is weak, but you fight like cornered animals. I respect that. I will make sure you get a kind master at the slave markets." Yuna spat blood at his feet. "We are not animals. And we are not slaves. You are whatever I decide you are." Malachar gestured to his troops. "Secure the ship. Find the cargo." The Veth spread out through the corridors. Yuna tried to follow, but 2 soldiers grabbed her arms and forced her to her knees. Do-hyun was thrown beside her, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. "Captain," he whispered, "I am sorry. I could not stop them." "You did everything you could," Yuna replied. "All of you did." Malachar walked past them toward the cargo bay. His boots echoed on the metal floor. He could smell fear ahead, the sweet scent of prey trying to hide. The cargo bay door was locked. Malachar laughed and nodded to a soldier carrying cutting equipment. Sparks flew as the door began to melt. Inside, Sora pushed the children further back. She grabbed a medical laser from her kit, a small tool meant for surgery, not combat. But it was all she had. "Children," she said quietly, "stay behind the crates. Do not make a sound. Whatever happens, do not come out until I tell you it is safe." Ji-won looked at her with wide eyes. "Are you going to fight them?" Sora thought about her parents, who had been doctors before her. She thought about her oath to protect life. Then she thought about the 12 small hearts beating in the darkness behind her. "Yes," she said. "I am going to fight." The door fell inward with a crash. Veth soldiers stormed through, weapons raised. Malachar followed, his eyes scanning the room with hunger. SOR stood alone in the center of the bay. She held the tiny laser in front of her like a sword. Malachar stopped. For a moment, he just stared at her. Then he began to laugh, a horrible sound that bounced off the walls. "One human? With a medical tool? This is your last defense. I will not let you take them," Sora said. Her voice shook, but she did not move. "You cannot stop me." Malachar stepped closer. "But I admire your courage. Perhaps I will keep you for myself." He raised his hand to strike her. Sora closed her eyes and prepared for the blow. The ship shook. Every light flickered. Alarms began screaming new warnings. Malachar's smile vanished as his communicator crackled with panicked voices. "Overseer! Ships incoming. Multiple contacts." They came out of nowhere. "How many ships?" Malachar demanded. "At least 15. They are Deathworlder signatures. Coalition warships." Malachar's gray face went pale. "The Coalition. The warriors from Hell worlds. The species that even the Veth feared." Sora opened her eyes. Through the cargo bay window, she could see lights in the darkness. Ships were appearing from hyperspace, one after another. They were huge and covered with weapons. Their hulls were decorated with symbols of war and honor. The first transmission came through every speaker on every ship in the area. The voice was deep as thunder, cold as death. "Veth Raiders, this is Fleet Admiral Torvik of the Deathworlders Coalition. You are attacking a vessel under our protection. You have taken children. You have 60 seconds to release all humans and surrender your ships." Malachar stared at the window. 15 ships. 30 ships. More kept appearing. The Veth fleet was only 3 vessels. "This is not possible," he whispered. "We are in neutral space. The Coalition has no authority here." The voice came again. 50 seconds. A new contact appeared on Veth scanners. More Veth ships arriving at maximum speed. High Commander Sevenus, Malachar's superior, had brought reinforcements. 20 Veth warships dropped out of hyperspace, forming a battle line. Malachar's confidence returned. 23 ships against 30. They had a chance. Sevenus broadcast on open channels. "Coalition fleet, you will withdraw. These humans are our property. Any attack will be considered an act of war against the Veth Dominion." Admiral Torvik's response was simple. 30 seconds. "You are bluffing," Sevenus said. "You would not start a war over one small ship." On the Wrath Eternal, Torvik watched the Veth fleet through the main window. His claws cut deep marks into his command chair. "Lieutenant Brenna," he said quietly, "connect me to the human ship." Visual channel. The screen flickered. Torvik saw a human woman standing alone in a cargo bay, holding a medical tool against a dozen Veth soldiers. Behind her, he could see small shapes hiding in the shadows. Children, human children, looking at the window with hope in their eyes. One of them, a small girl, pressed her hand against the glass and waved. Torvik felt something break inside him. Something ancient and protective. His people had lost many children in the old wars. They knew the pain of empty nests and silent nurseries. "Admiral," Brenna said. 60 seconds have passed. Torvik stood. His massive form filled the bridge with his shadow. "All ships," he commanded. "Fire." The darkness of space turned white with weapons fire. The first wave of coalition weapons struck the Veth fleet like the fist of an angry god. 3 raider ships vanished in balls of fire before their crews could even scream. High Commander Sevenus watched his formation break apart in seconds. "Return fire!" he screamed. "All ships, return fire!" The Veth weapons answered. Missiles and energy beams streaked toward the coalition fleet. Some hit their targets. Shields flickered on Deathworlder ships. Armor plates glowed with heat dot. It made no difference. The Deathworlders had spent millions of years evolving on worlds that tried to kill them every day. Their ships were built the same way, designed to survive anything. What would destroy a normal vessel only made them angry. Admiral Torvik stood at the center of his bridge, watching the battle unfold. His tactical display showed enemy ships dying one by one. The Veth were fast, but the Coalition was faster. The Veth were dangerous, but the Coalition was deadlier. "Admiral," Lieutenant Brenna reported. 6 Veth ships destroyed. 3 more heavily damaged. "The enemy is attempting to retreat." "No retreat," Torvik growled. "They do not get to run. Not after what they did." On the Starling Hope, Captain Una and her crew watched through broken windows as the battle raged outside. The Veth soldiers guarding them had stopped watching their prisoners. They were staring at the destruction of their fleet with terror. In their small black eyes, Una saw her chance. She slammed her elbow into the nearest guard's throat. The Veth choked and dropped its weapon. Dahin grabbed the fallen rifle and fired twice, taking down another soldier. In the confusion, the remaining crew members attacked with fists and tools and desperate fury. "Take back the ship," Una shouted. "Get to the cargo bay. Protect the children." The humans fought through the corridors of their own vessel. They were wounded and exhausted, but they were winning. The Veth soldiers on board had expected easy prey. They had not expected to be trapped between angry humans and an attacking fleet outside. Commander Graf's ship Stonehammer moved toward the Veth command vessel. His cruiser was built for close combat, with heavy armor and powerful engines. Graf stood at the helm, all 4 arms controlling different systems at once. "Commander," his weapons officer said, "we have a clear shot at the enemy flagship." "Good, but do not destroy it. I want that ship intact." Graf's eyes burned with cold fire. "I want prisoners. I want every Veth alive to answer for what they did." "Understood, Commander." The Stonehammer unleashed a precise strike on the Veth command ship's engines. The enemy vessel went dark, spinning slowly in the void. Graf smiled, showing teeth that could crush bone. High Commander Sevenus watched his fleet die around him. 12 ships gone, 5 more disabled. The Coalition was cutting through his forces like they were made of paper. "This is impossible," he whispered. "We had numbers. We had surprise." His tactical officer looked at him with fear. "Commander, they are too fast. Too strong. Our weapons do not hurt them." "I know." Sevenus slammed his fist against his command chair. "I know." He had underestimated the Coalition. Everyone did. People looked at the Deathworlders and saw primitive warriors from savage planets. They did not understand that surviving a Deathworld required more than strength. It required intelligence, strategy, patience. Deathworlders had been fighting impossible wars since, before most species learned to use fire. Torvik's voice came through the communication system. "Veth High Commander, your fleet is destroyed. Your ships are burning. Surrender now, and some of you might live to face justice." Sevenus laughed bitterly. "Justice? You call this justice? You attack us in neutral space. You destroy our ships without warning. This is not justice. This is murder. You took children. Torvik's voice was calm but filled with cold hatred. You put slave collars in their future. You do not get to speak of justice. They are just humans. Weak creatures from a weak world. Why do you care about them? There was a pause. Then Torvik spoke again, and this time his voice echoed across every ship in the battle. Let me tell you about humans, Veth. 3 years ago, during the border wars, a human squad found a nest of our eggs. The battle was lost. Our warriors were retreating. The eggs would have been left to die. He paused. On the Starling Hope, Una stopped fighting to listen. The Veth soldiers stopped as well. Everyone listened. The humans did not leave them. They carried 40 eggs through 6 hours of enemy fire. 3 humans died. They did not have to save our children. They were not ordered to. They simply saw young lives in danger and refused to abandon them. Torvik's claws dug deeper into his chair. That is why we care about humans. That is why we will burn your entire fleet to ash before we let you take a single human child. Sevenus said nothing. You have 1 minute to surrender, Torvik continued. After that, we stopped taking prisoners. On the Starling Hope, Overseer Malika heard the transmission. He looked at Sora, who still stood between him and the children. He looked at the Deathworlder ships filling the space outside. He looked at his soldiers, who were being overwhelmed by angry humans throughout the vessel. This is your fault, he snarled at Sora. You called them. You brought death to my people. Your people brought death to themselves, Sora replied. Her voice was steady now. She could see victory approaching. You attacked civilians. You tried to steal children. Did you think there would be no consequences? Malika raised his weapon. If he was going to die, he would take this human woman with him. A massive hand grabbed his arm and twisted. Bones cracked. Malika screamed as he fell to the floor. Commander Grath stepped through the cargo bay door. His forearms were covered in Veth blood. Behind him, a squad of coalition warriors spread through the room, securing every entrance. The ship is ours, Grath said. His voice was surprisingly gentle. He looked past Sora to the children hiding in the shadows. Little ones, you are safe now. No one will hurt you. One by one, the children came out from behind the crates. They were crying and shaking, but they were alive. Gemon walked forward, holding the youngest boy in her arms. She looked up at Grath, a monster by most species standards. A warrior from a volcanic hell world. A creature that could crush her with one hand. Thank you, she said quietly. Grath knelt down, lowering himself to her level. His massive body creaked with the movement. You are welcome, little warrior. You were very brave. Outside, the last Veth ships were surrendering. High Commander Sevenus had given the order. There was no point fighting anymore. The battle was over. The coalition had won. Admiral Torvik watched his victory without celebration. He felt no joy, only tired relief that they had arrived in time. Lieutenant Brenna, he said, secure the prisoners. Document everything. I want the entire galaxy to know what the Veth did here. Yes, Admiral. And prepare my shuttle. I am going to the human ship. Brenna looked at him with surprise. Admiral? You wish to go personally? Torvik nodded. I want to see the children we saved. I want to thank the humans who protected them. He turned and walked toward the shuttle bay. His heavy footsteps echoed through the corridor. And I want the Veth to see me honor these humans, he added quietly. I want them to understand exactly what they awakened when they sent that distress signal. I want the galaxy to know that humanity is no longer alone. The shuttle launched into the darkness, carrying the most powerful warrior in the coalition toward a small cargo ship full of wounded humans and frightened children. The battle was over, but the real story was just beginning. The cargo bay of the Starling Hope was quiet now. The sounds of battle had faded. The alarms had stopped screaming. Only the soft crying of children and the groans of wounded filled the air. SORA moved among the survivors with her medical kit. Her hands were shaking, but she forced them to be steady. There were too many people who needed help. Captain Yuna sat against a crate, holding a bandage to her arm. Blood had soaked through the white cloth, turning it dark red. She watched as coalition soldiers carried Veth prisoners away in energy restraints. "Captain," Dohyun said, kneeling beside her, "medical ships are on their way. They will be here in 10 minutes. "Good." Yuna closed her eyes. "The children?" "All safe. Dr. Beak is checking them now. Some minor injuries. A lot of fear. But they will live." Yuna let out a breath she had been holding for hours. "They will live." Those 3 words made everything worth it. The wounds, the fear, the hopeless fight against impossible odds. Commander Grath stood guard at the cargo bay entrance. His massive form blocked the doorway like a living wall. No Veth would pass him. No danger would reach the children while he stood there. Jiwon walked up to him. She barely reached his knee, but she looked up at him without fear. "Sir," she said politely, "are you really from a volcano world?" Grath looked down at her. His 6 eyes blinked slowly. He was not used to children speaking to him. Most species ran from his kind. "Yes, little one. My world is called Krath. The ground burns. The air is full of ash. It is very different from your Earth. It sounds scary. It is." Grath paused. "But we learn to live with scary things. We become strong because our world makes us strong." Jiwon nodded seriously. "I think Earth makes humans strong too, just in a different way." Grath stared at her for a long moment. Then he made a sound deep in his chest. It took Jiwon a moment to realize he was laughing. "You are wise for your age, little warrior. Your species is full of surprises." A new sound filled the ship. Heavy footsteps approaching. Every coalition soldier snapped to attention. Even Grath straightened his massive body. Admiral Torvik entered the cargo bay. He had to bend down to fit through the human-sized doorway. His green scales seemed to absorb the dim light. His 4 yellow eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail. The wounded humans, the exhausted crew, the children clustered around Dr. Beak. Yuna tried to stand. Torvik raised one massive hand. "Stay seated, Captain. You have earned your rest." His voice was softer than his broadcast during the battle, gentler, but still deep enough to vibrate in Yuna's chest. "Admiral," she said, "thank you. If our fleet had not come, you would have fought until your last breath." I saw the reports. Torvik moved closer, his footsteps making the floor shake. "Your crew held off Veth soldiers for over an hour with improvised weapons. Your medic stood alone against a dozen enemies to protect the children. Do not thank me, Captain. Thank your own courage." Yuna did not know what to say. She had never been praised by a Deathworlder before. She had never expected to be. Torvik turned to look at Sora, who was bandaging a cut on a young boy's forehead. The medic looked up at him with tired eyes. "Dr. Beak," Torvik said, "I am told you held the cargo bay alone. You refused to move even when surrounded." Sora shrugged. "I had nowhere else to go. The children were behind me. You could have surrendered. You could have saved yourself and hoped for rescue later." "No." Sora's voice was firm. "I could not. Surrender would mean letting them take the children. I would rather die." Torvik was quiet for a moment. Then he reached into a pouch on his belt and pulled out something small. It was a medal, carved from black stone that seemed to drink the light. "This is the Stone of Courage," he said. It is the highest honor my people can give to a non-Deathworlder. Only 7 have ever been awarded in our history. He held it out to Sora. The 8th is yours, Doctor. Sora stared at the medal. Her hands trembled as she took it. The stone was warm, almost alive. I do not deserve this, she whispered. You protected children that were not your own. You faced death without flinching. You did what any Deathworlder would do. Torvik's eyes softened. You deserve this more than you know. G1 stepped forward. She tugged on Torvik's leg, which was as thick as a tree trunk. Excuse me, sir. Are you the leader? Torvik looked down at her. To anyone watching, it was a strange sight. The most powerful warrior in the coalition, facing a 10-year-old human girl. I am, he said. I am Admiral Torvik. Admiral Torvik. G1 pronounced each word carefully. Thank you for saving us. I was very scared. But Dr. Beak told us that strong friends were coming. She was right. Torvik knelt down. The movement was slow and careful. His knees cracked like ancient stones settling. You are welcome, little one. I am sorry we did not arrive sooner. It is okay. You came when we needed you. G1 looked at him with serious eyes. My parents are gone. My home is gone. I was afraid I would never be safe again. Torvik felt something heavy in his chest. Something he had not felt in many years. You will be safe, he said. I promise you this. The Coalition will protect all humans. Anyone who threatens you will face us. G1 smiled. It was a small smile, still touched by fear and sadness. But it was real. Okay, I believe you. She reached up and patted his massive hand. Her tiny fingers against his armored scales. Torvik stayed very still. He did not trust himself to move. Outside the ship, the Veth prisoners were being loaded onto Coalition transport vessels. High Commander Sevenus was among them, his armor stripped away, his dignity gone. He would face trial at Coalition Command. He would answer for every crime. Malachar was carried past on a stretcher. His arm was wrapped in medical foam. He would survive, but he would spend the rest of his life in a prison designed for the worst. Criminals in the galaxy. Doyen was recording everything. His camera captured the prisoners, the damaged ships, the Coalition fleet standing guard over the Starling Hope like protective giants. This will be big news, he said to Una, the whole galaxy. We'll see what happened here. Good. Una. Watch the Veth being taken away. Let them see. Let everyone see what happens when you attack humans. Let them see who stands with us now. The medical ships arrived. Coalition doctors, trained to treat dozens of species, swarmed over the Starling Hope. They tended to wounds. They checked the children. They gave water and food and warm blankets. Torvik watched it all from the cargo bay. He had not moved since kneeling before G1. The little girl had gone to join the other children, but she kept looking back at him and waving. Admiral, Brenna said through his communicator, the media vessels are requesting statements. Galactic news networks want to broadcast the story. Let them come. Let them broadcast everything. Torvik finally stood. I want the galaxy to know what humans did today. I want them to know what we did for humans. He turned to Captain Una. When you are healed, Captain, I would like to offer you a position. The Coalition needs officers who understand human courage, who know how to fight when victory seems impossible. Una blinked in surprise. You want me to join the Coalition fleet? I want you to command a ship, a real warship, with a mixed crew of humans and Deathworlders. Torvik's lips pulled back in what might have been a smile. Someone needs to teach our warriors how to be as stubborn as your species. Una looked at her crew. At Doyen, who grinned and gave her a thumbs up. At Sora, who held the stone of courage against her heart. I would be honored, Admiral. Torvik nodded. Then it is decided. Welcome to the Coalition, Captain Park Yuna. Welcome to the family. He turned and walked toward the exit. His shuttle was waiting. There was still much work to do, but as he left, he looked back one more time at the cargo bay full of humans and children. They were battered and bruised. Their ship was barely holding together. They had faced death and refused to surrender. They were exactly what the Coalition needed. 3 months had passed since the battle at the Starling Hope. The story had spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. News networks broadcast footage of the Coalition fleet destroying the Veth Raiders. They showed images of wounded humans who had fought with pipes and fire extinguishers. They showed Dr. Beak standing alone against a dozen soldiers. They showed a 10-year-old girl waving at the most dangerous warrior in the galaxy. The galaxy paid attention. At Coalition Command Station, a massive structure orbiting a dead star, the ceremony hall was packed with visitors. Representatives from 50 species filled the viewing galleries. Cameras floated everywhere, capturing every moment. Captain Park Yuna stood at attention in her new uniform. It was dark blue with silver markings, the colors of the Coalition fleet. On her shoulder was the symbol of her new ship, the Burning Dawn, a mixed crew vessel with both human and Deathworlder warriors. Admiral Torvik stood before her, holding a ceremonial sword older than human civilization. Captain Park Yuna, he announced, his voice echoing through the hall. You have shown courage beyond measure. You have proven that humans are worthy of standing beside the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Do you accept command of the Burning Dawn? I accept, Yuna said. Her voice did not shake. Torvik presented the sword. Yuna took it in both hands. The weight was enormous, but she held it steady. Then rise, Captain. Rise and take your place among us. The hall erupted in cheers. Coalition warriors stomped their feet and roared their approval. Human observers in the galleries clapped and shouted. Even the alien representatives who had doubted humanity's worth found themselves caught up in the moment. Doan stood among the new crew of the Burning Dawn. He had been promoted to Senior Communications Officer. His report on the Starling Hope incident had become required reading at Coalition academies. Beside him stood Dr. Beak Sora, now Chief Medical Officer. The stone of courage hung around her neck on a chain made of volcanic glass. She never took it off. The children from the Starling Hope sat in a special section of the viewing gallery. They had been adopted by Coalition families, human and alien alike. Jiwan sat between a massive Deathworlder and his human wife. She was learning 3 languages and had already announced that she would join the fleet when she grew up. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Food and drink from 100 worlds. Music that ranged from soft melodies to thunderous drums. Warriors shared stories. Diplomats made deals. Friends found each other. Torvik found Yuna standing alone by a window, looking at the stars. You should be celebrating with your crew, he said. I will. I just needed a moment. Yuna touched the glass. When I first joined the cargo service, I never imagined any of this. I was just a pilot moving supplies between stations. And now you command one of the most powerful ships in the Coalition. Yuna turned to look at him. Can I ask you something, Admiral? Of course. Why did you really come for us? I know the Coalition code about protecting children. But the truth is, we are new members. We have not earned much. You risked war with the Veth Dominion for one small ship. Torvik was quiet for a long moment. His 4 eyes looked past her, into memories she could not see. When I was young, he said finally, my world was attacked. Raiders came, like the Veth. They took many of our eggs. Many children were lost. I'm sorry. I swore an oath that day. I swore that I would never let children suffer while I had the power to stop it. Any children. Of any species. Torvik's scales darkened slightly. When I heard your distress signal, I did not think about politics. I did not consider costs. I only knew that children were in danger and I could help. Yuna nodded slowly. And that is why the coalition will always be strong. Because you remember what truly matters. So do your people, Torvik replied. That is why we welcome you as brothers and sisters. Far away, in a dark region of space, a species called the Kren were planning a raid. They had chosen a human colony on a distant moon. The colony was small. The defenses were weak. Easy prey. Their intelligence officer stood before the council, presenting the attack plan. Maps showed the colony layout. Reports listed the population. Everything was prepared. Then the intelligence officer added one more item to his presentation. Before we approve this raid, he said, the council should review this file. He played the recording of the Starling Hope incident. The council watched in silence as the coalition fleet destroyed the Veth. They watched the speech Admiral Torvik gave. They saw the humans fight with impossible courage. They saw the little girl wave at the Deathworlder Admiral. If we attack this colony, the intelligence officer continued, we will face the same response. The humans are protected now. Any attack on them is an attack on the entire coalition. The council leader stared at the screen. The fury of 30 warships. The wreckage of the Veth fleet. The promise of destruction for anyone who threatened humanity. Cancel the raid, he said quietly. The humans are not worth the risk. The colony was never attacked. The humans there never knew how close they had come to danger. They went about their lives in peace, protected by a shield they could not see. On the burning dawn, Yuna stood on her new bridge for the first time. Her crew surrounded her, a mix of humans and Deathworlders working side by side. Do-Hyun sat at his communication station, monitoring signals from across the sector. Sora stood by the medical bay entrance, ready for any emergency. Commander Grath had requested transfer to the Burning Dawn as Chief Tactical Officer. He claimed it was for strategic reasons, but everyone knew he simply wanted to stay close to the humans he had learned to respect. Captain, Grath said, we have received our first mission orders. Yuna sat in her command chair. It was larger than she was used to, designed to fit Deathworlder bodies as well as human ones. What is the mission? Patrol duty along the border territories. Protecting supply routes and colony ships. Grath paused. Including human colony ships. Yuna smiled. It felt right. Everything felt right. Set course for the border, she ordered. And send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them the Burning Dawn is ready for duty. The ship hummed with power as the engines engaged. Stars stretched into lines as they jumped into faster-than-light travel. Do-Hyun looked up from his console. Captain, I am already receiving thanks from the colonies we will be protecting. Word has spread about the Starling Hope. Everyone knows what the coalition did for us. Good. Let them know they are not alone anymore. Yuna leaned back in her chair. Humanity joined the stars late. We were small and weak compared to the old species. But we proved ourselves. We showed the galaxy what we are made of. She looked at her mixed crew. Humans and Deathworlders working together. Friends forged in fire. And now, she said, we will show them what we can do together. The Burning Dawn flew on through the endless darkness. Behind it, a chain of events continued to spread across the galaxy. The Veth faced sanctions and isolation. Other predator species reconsidered their plans. Human colonies reported feeling safer than ever before. And in the hearts of 12 children, now scattered across coalition space, a truth had taken root. A truth they would carry for the rest of their lives and pass on to future generations. In a galaxy full of dangers, humanity was no longer alone. They had found protectors. They had found family. And they had proven something that the Universe would never forget. Those who protect children are worthy of protection themselves. The Deathworlders remembered this. The humans had shown them it was true. And together, they would face whatever darkness the galaxy could bring.